Okay, there we go.
Okay, I have to click got it here. So do we think we're,
Okay, I'm gonna mic off.
Leonard, did you get a little pop-up that said got it?
No, I did not. Or wait, I didn't
We
notice.
might have to both say that we understand it's being live streamed.
Okay. It's being live. It's being live streamed.
Yep, and we're waiting for people to join right now.
Okay. I'm not seeing it on my.
So, tell me whenever it pops up.
Oh, fact check. There it goes. Okay. Live stream. Oh, okay. So. There's a slight delay, but it says live chat.
So is it live?
Yeah. Hey, Deb and AKA Gray. How are you? You're here.
Great. Leonard, what is the title showing us? Because I have a couple people next to me that are trying to log on and they can't see it.
What was it, Greg? Do you remember? Fact check, something about fact check.
Fact check the mainstream narrative about the events in January 6th, 2021 in DC.
Oh, yeah, I see it. I see it.
Leonard, what is the title? You're gonna have to mute.
Yeah, you're gonna have to mute Greg, because I can hear that.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us and welcome to our 2-year update and fact check on the J6 gathering at the Capitol. Leonard, who do you see joining us right now? Where are they from? And we'll just wait a minute while more people join.
Hey, Deb, where are you from? Let's see. AKA Gray.
So it's been 2 years since the J6 gathering at the Capitol, where many patriots, approximately 250,000, gathered to express their First Amendment rights and to make their wishes be known that we wanted every legal vote counted. And since that time, we have had many facts come to light, and we're going to go through a very brief but fascinating video that we actually shot personally. We were on the ground. We had boots on the ground. I'm here with my colleague, Leonard Bacani. Say hi, Leonard.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
And I'm Valli Hart, and Leonard and I were actually freezing and shooting for about 14 hours 2 years ago tonight. And we were hopping on the train.
I think we were kind of limited in funds. We were just kind of like scrounging around. Remember that? We were
Yes.
like, people were nice enough to donate some it was just those bars, some protein
Trail
bars.
mix. We were so hungry. We started at 5:30 in the morning, and we pretty much went for 14 hours. We thought there would be food available, but there wasn't. There were no food booths. There was nothing. And nonetheless, we lasted, and we swapped out many cell phones. Leonard, do you want to talk about the cell phone signal issue and how we intended to live stream like we are right now, and we absolutely could not get a signal out?
Well, we brought multiple cell phones. I had a bag full of 3 cell phones plus yours, and plus our cameraman and all that. So we had an array of cell phones and battery packs and chargers. I had a whole bag of chargers, and that's what we did all day, was recharge our batteries, because it was going constantly. It seemed like, wasn't it? Just constantly.
Absolutely.
Videotaping.
And in the last 2 years, there have been a variety of narratives put out by the mainstream media. Right. Even that day, I had family members calling me and saying, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? I understand there were murders going on and there was a great deal of violence." And you and I never personally witnessed anything like that, but we did get a lot of good boots on the ground footage. We interviewed dozens of people. We shot thousands of people with our footage. And the interesting thing is, our footage has timestamps on it. So as we went through the day, even though the signal was blocked for most, our footage that we gathered has timestamps on it, and it does not match the mainstream narrative. Is that correct, Leonard?
That's absolutely correct.
So we would
Yeah.
like to start by welcoming everyone in, and thank you for joining us. This is going to be a brief show tonight, but we do want to share with you the video footage that we collected 2 years ago tonight and stayed up all night putting together so that we could get the word out. And we're going to play a little clip of it here, and then we're going to stop and talk through some things that have since been proven true or false.
Welcome to
Can you
see
fast forward it? There you go.
you to decide is going on.
Where are you guys from?
Maximize.
Yeah, who else? Where are you guys from? Palm Beach.
Palm Beach.
Nice. Where are you guys from? Georgia in the house. Where are you guys from? Texas. Patriots from everywhere.
Morning, Patriots. After 3 hours waiting in line,
Wouldn't that be awesome?
walking through the Serpentine,
really care
3
if
hours,
you're
we're finally here. Valli and I are
This
finally
songs
here
have done so much.
at the gate, about to go through the security checkpoint with Secret Service. So we look forward to seeing you on the other side.
That was good.
I can't hear you, so you know.
Notice my bag. Look at that bag.
It is so worth it.
Bag full of batteries and cell phones.
Empty your pockets, empty everything.
Patriots happy to go through security here to keep everything safe and just get on to the other side. Excited, Leonard?
That's right, we're there, baby.
Hundreds of thousands of Americans.
Okay, if you could please pause it, Greg.
The honesty of our election.
Fact check number 1. Patriots who attended the rally were armed and dangerous. Leonard, what did they make us do with anything we had that could be construed as a weapon?
Well, you know, we had to go through 3 hours of the Serpentine, you know, back and forth until we reached the front where the security screening was. Secret Service was doing the security screening. I mean, we went through the metal detectors and everything else. We had to empty all of our pockets, and our bags were examined. So the narrative that people who attended were armed is just not factually true, because everybody was.
And Leonard, what did they ask me to do with my microphone? When I had the microphone with the Seavine flag on it, and I was bringing it in so I could interview more people like we had the whole day, what did they make me do with my
Right,
microphone?
they considered that a club, a microphone, and they would not allow us to bring in our microphone. But we
So
hung
they
in there.
made me throw away my $500 microphone. I'll tell you this, most people would not have kept going, but Leonard and I were there because we wanted to be eyes on the ground and we wanted to have a neutral view of what went on. So we threw the microphone away and we walked through and we used our cell phones for everything. So that was
Right.
fact check number 1. Were we all armed and dangerous? Absolutely not. Let's keep going.
And the integrity of our glorious republic. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections.
You guys, if we're
Hey, and Greg, if you could pause it right there. So great shot of me, guys. Wonderful. Everyone enjoyed this moment. So fact check number 2. Did the President of the United States ask us to create an, quote, insurrection and cause trouble? Leonard, What did he say?
He said he wanted us to go there peacefully, and lawfully,
And patriotically.
and patriotically.
And
so that our
patriotically.
voices could be heard. Yeah, absolutely. Patriotically and peacefully.
So fact check. There is what he said, and it was twisted quite a great deal in mainstream media. The next thing is the timestamps on our phone footage, which we collected during the 14 hours that we were shooting, prove that the narrative of the mainstream media put the time of the quote breaking of the barricades and the insurrection completely erroneously, because for whatever reason, President Trump started his speech very late. And so when the mainstream media later said that patriots were breaking down barricades, we were still listening to President Trump, and then we were all singing the YMCA and saying a prayer. And so fact check, were the patriots breaking down the barriers? No, we were still listening to President Trump and singing and saying prayers, which begs the question, who broke down the barriers? Who was trying to make it look like patriots were unruly and causing trouble? Were there agitators planted in the crowd? Leonard?
Well, there definitely was agitators in the crowd because during testimony of FBI officials, they asked that question specifically. Were there operatives from either BLM or Antifa embedded with the government or to pose as patriots? And they said they couldn't answer that. So that tells you everything. I mean, we have
they basically took the fifth, right, Leonard? They basically took the fifth and said, we will not answer the question.
That's right. And they, when there's open source video out there of guys dressed in all black and underneath a tree and then donning
Tying their Trump
red
scarf on,
Trump,
or putting MAGA hat on.
Right. And getting kind of aggressive. Those guys are aggressive with people who were filming them, saying, don't film us.
Yeah.
Maybe even threatening bodily harm.
And pretty much they had masks on.
Yes.
You will see from our footage, anyone watching right now can see from our footage, most of the patriots were singing, hugging each other. We did not have masks on. We just came out there basically to pray and sing the national anthem and bring our little flags, have our little moment, our peaceful, patriotic moment. But there were people that Leonard and I found in the background on our footage later when we went through it very carefully that we saw that had masks on, that were dressed all in black, that maybe tied a Trump scarf around, that had wires sticking out of their pockets, or they looked like they might have a bulletproof vest on or something like that. I don't know what the term is for that, but they looked locked and loaded.
Yeah, they definitely didn't look like patriots, just casually attending a rally. They looked kind of militaristic at times. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are going to talk about the fact check of John Earl Sullivan. John Earl Sullivan is a known member of Antifa who, on this headline here, you'll see it says U.S. seizes $90,000 from insurrectionist. No, I object to that word. Who sold footage of Ashley Babbitt's fatal shooting to news outlets. He was actually Antifa. He actually had several counts brought against him and was released very rapidly. And he is one of the people that just tied a Trump scarf on so he could just blend in with the crowd. So fact check. Were there only patriots there trying to cause trouble? The truth of that, there were absolutely agitators mixed into the crowd trying to look like they were Trump supporters and trying to cause problems, 100%. And most all of the patriots we saw were singing the national anthem, helping one another, sharing their meager food supply, and talking about how much they love America and how much they hope that we could have a peaceful resolution to the elections going forward and that they could be handled fairly. Let's continue playing the video, please.
We are in a crowd of Trump supporters with President Trump leading us right now toward the Capitol. We are marching on the Capitol to make
And
our
if
voices
you could stop there, Greg.
and to let love each other.
So one of the reasons that it looks white is because Leonard and I are under an enormous American flag with dozens and dozens of patriots, and we are carrying the flag and people are singing the national anthem. Leonard, how big would you say that flag is?
It was huge. I would say it was maybe close to 100 yards long and maybe 80 yards width.
So about 300 feet, and we're all under, and everyone's working together, and we're all singing, and we're all carrying the flag. And then when we arrive at the Capitol, we hang it on the wall. At no time during our 14 hours of filming, not one moment did Leonard and I see any act of violence. And we were observant and looking around. The violence that occurred appeared to us to be very orchestrated, agitated, and I personally witnessed someone that I would identify as Ray Epps with a megaphone saying, "Come forward, it's a better view over here by the wall." And the gates were opened for us. We broke nothing, we climbed nothing. We peacefully walked forward while we were singing the national anthem. And then someone looking awfully lot like Ray Epps had the megaphone and was saying, "Move up closer to the wall, it's a better view." So they coerced us to come up nice and close. Nonetheless, we were still peaceful. So fact check. Were we breaking down the barriers, Leonard?
Absolutely not. I mean, there's open source video that shows that they were invited in by the police, and that the people in attendance just peacefully walked through.
Excellent. And Greg, if you wouldn't mind, could you put up the text message from Ray Epps that has come to light within the last couple of weeks?
Stand by, I'm trying to find it. It might be behind this page.
No worries. It builds the drama, right, guys? It's really important. This might not be the slickest production you have ever seen, but it is definitely the most honest, and it comes from firsthand accounting and neutral, unbiased accounting of what happened that day, because we were there basically to shoot it and to talk about whatever legitimately occurred. And the text message that Greg is going to show us in a moment is from Ray Epps, and much to his chagrin, he had originally testified that he was in no part involved in agitating anything. And Newsweek and Time did articles about it. But then recently, this text has come to light. Mr. John Blishik, I'm probably massacring that. He asked, "How do you pronounce Dolan's name?" Mr. Epps, Dolan. Who is Dolan Epps? He is my nephew. He's 28 years old. Okay. And can we scroll down a little bit to the middle of the page? All right, perfect. So it looks like around 9 a.m., your nephew texts you and says, "You and Jim be safe." And then at 2:12, very interesting time, right, Leonard? At 2:12, you text back, "I was in the front with a few others. I also orchestrated it." Fact check. Were there agitators in the crowd with megaphones orchestrating it? Leonard?
No, absolutely. And you know what? They were kind of easily identifiable. I mean, they were at the front of the crowd, kind of enticing everybody or cajoling everybody into stepping up, come forward. It's time to, let's go in, that kind of activity. And you can tell them by the regular attendees out there. I mean, some of them had backpacks. They were masked. A lot of them, you can see, like Valli said, you can see wires coming from their, the back of their shirts, and they had backpacks with more than likely radios, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they had sophisticated means of communicating. And
They did.
These were the people that were evenly dispersed throughout the crowd, and kind of dressed kind of differently, shading their faces. And you can kind of tell who they are, but they definitely did not fit in that they look, like I said earlier, they look militaristic.
Now, one more important point that I would like to bring up right now is the Sergeant at Arms, Michael Stenger, himself afterwards testified that yes, there were agitators in the crowd, that for the most part, the patriots that had assembled were very peaceful, and it was not as the media was portraying it. And that Michael Stenger testified that there were agitators there trying to create problems and make it look like it had been Trump supporters. Leonard, could you share with us what happened to Michael Stenger the day before he was set to officially testify?
Coincidentally, before he was going to, he had already stated what he was going to testify. And coincidentally, it was reported that he died of natural causes the day before he was to testify.
Just suddenly.
That a weird coincidence, wouldn't you, Valli?
Yes, it's definitely worthy of shaking your head and saying, wow, if someone from within Pelosi's team, as the Sergeant of Arms and the official person, testifies that the patriots who attended that event that day are being falsely maligned, and he is about to officially testify that there were definitely agitators in there who could have been BLM, Antifa, and even FBI, then somebody was probably a little bit relieved that he naturally, suddenly, miraculously passed away within hours before he was supposed to testify.
Again, the FBI basically pleaded the fifth when they were asked under oath whether they had FBI embedded in with the attendees. They said, we can't answer that question. And that tells you everything.
Now, from us being there, we can answer it in a small part from what we saw and what we knew. And the few people we saw that had masks on and had walkie-talkies or antennas sticking out with a Trump scarf on, and we definitely noticed that they were an anomaly. They were different than all the other very relaxed, almost festival-like people who were freezing there, but just wanted to play a role in saying, hey, we really need to be sure we have fair elections moving forward. Whatever the outcome is, we just want it to be fair.
Right.
Okay, let's continue. So before we continue, Greg, so far we have John Earl Sullivan, who had the Trump scarf around and was paid $90,000 for the footage that he shot and was Antifa. We have Michael Stenger, who was the Sergeant at Arms, who testified that he absolutely knew that there were agitators mixed into the crowd, and he mysteriously died the day before he was going to give further official testimony. And we have Ray Epps with a megaphone saying, step right up to the front, come up where the view is, and then bragging to his 28-year-old nephew that I was right at the front with some others, and in fact, I orchestrated it. So let's continue.
Know that we want every legal vote to count.
Are there any objections to counting the certificate of vote of the state of Arizona that the teller has verified appears to be regular in form and authentic?
Mr. Vice President, I, Paul Gosar from Arizona.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Arizona rise?
I rise up for myself and 60 of my colleagues to object to the counting of the electoral ballots from Arizona.
Is the objection in writing and signed by a senator?
Yes, it is.
It is. An objection presented in writing and signed by both a representative and a senator complies with the law, Chapter 1 of Title 3 of the United States Code.
Lift the American flag.
So at 2:07 p.m., peaceful patriots are carrying the flag to the Capitol. We're back to Leonard and I under the flag, thinking we're having a patriotic moment under here. Little did we know that this is supposedly the most brutal revolution in the history of the USA. We didn't get the memo. We're all just singing under there and sharing trail mix. And at 1:54, a few minutes before is when the activities are taking place with Mike Pence. Now we are carrying the flag toward the Capitol. And Leonard, can you share with everyone what you saw and what we're about to see on this footage and the random moment you saw and that you quite fortuitously captured on your video footage? And it's hard to see,
Right.
guys, so pay attention. It's amazing.
Right. So I happened to have my camera out. I mean, or my cell phone out. And it was out basically the whole day. But what we captured next at 2:44 p.m., at 2:44 was a flare, a signal flare that went off. It was a single flare. And the timing is important. We'll tell you later on why.
Yes. And again, when you're seeing these time codes, they're from our phones. And this does not match the official mainstream media whatsoever. So that's why we thought it was good to do a 2-year fact check and let the truth be known. So let's keep going. And we're going to see us walking here. What you're going to see and what I want you to watch for is Leonard actually climbed up to a little greater height, and he actually accidentally, or because we were supposed to be there and this was important that we caught it, he caught a flare going off as a signal. Now keep in mind, the doors to the Capitol weigh over 10,000 pounds. They were electronically opened. Here we have all these grandmas and all these people milling through the Capitol, taking pictures, carrying their little flags, and then they're going out peacefully. When the flare goes off, which you're going to see on here, the doors slam shut. Let's roll, Greg.
You see the Capitol, guys, over the top of this enormous American flag that we're all carrying up the street? We mean business. And if you couldn't be here today, it's okay. You can join us now, and you can join us in prayer. You can join us in spirit, because no matter where you are, if you're sitting in a wheelchair, if you're in Ohio or Delaware or Chicago or California or fill in the blank, if you love our country and you're thinking about us and wishing you were here, then you are part of our Patriot Movement. We are taking back our capital.
Okay, so Greg, if you could stop it right there, and then if you can just move it forward just a little bit to the point at which we're going to see the flare. Now watch very carefully, because it was a gray, gloomy day. You'll see the police just opening the gates. If you want to watch on the C-Bike level. There's the police waving us in. Now we're hanging our flag up. Flag we carried down the street.
Looks like Washington, D.C. police are retreating. They are retreating.
You can see them
So
on the
at
left
2:42,
there with the bright
the
vest.
police. At 2:42, the police retreat from the perimeter of the Capitol. Kind of odd if the timeline says that there was rioting going on at that time, or even before that. Why would they be retreating from the perimeter of the Capitol? Now, during this time, there are DOJ source or the interior of the Capitol Police.
DC police
Capitol,
is retreating.
Cameras inside the Capitol showed doors being open and actually being invited in by the police with no resistance whatsoever. And you see the crowd just casually walk in. And at 2:44, does that sound familiar? That's when the sign, this flare that you see goes off. And at that exact time, the doors to the Capitol closes as if they win. They got the people, they got the numbers that they wanted, and they sealed people in. Mind you, these doors, like Valli said, are very, very extremely heavy, and they're electronically controlled. So someone from a control
There's the flare.
Room. There's a flare at 2:44 p.m.
One single flare goes off after the police leave. Leonard says on camera to me, someone just shot the flare.
Patriots have hoisted the flag.
Okay, and Greg, if you could pause.
brother I am.
Great. And so you see at 2:44, the flare went off. And you see here, this is the flag that Leonard and I carried up the street with dozens and dozens of other patriots. And now a few people climbed the scaffolding, didn't break anything, didn't cause any harm, unfurled the flag. The whole crowd breaks out by putting their hands over their hearts and singing the national anthem. And shortly thereafter, we all hugged each other. Many people said prayers, and we peacefully departed. Leonard and I, at the end of the day, looked at each other and said, can you believe how peacefully everyone assembled during this event? We did not see one act of violence while we were on the Capitol grounds on January 6th, 2 years ago. Is that true, Leonard?
That's true. Mind you, we never made it inside. We never was on the.
We never did.
We were always we're on the outskirts of the Capitol, but personally, no, we did not see any acts of violence towards police or anybody else. It was peaceful, and they were there to assemble peacefully.
And it was muddy and cold and gray. And all we saw was patriots pulling together there were people in wheelchairs there trying to go through the mud. Several times we saw a group of veterans pick up a wheelchair and carry a lady over the mud puddle. Or we saw people sharing their meager food supplies because there was no food available. Or we saw acts of kindness or people joining hands saying prayers. That is our first-hand account of our day 2 years ago at the Capitol of the United States of America. And Leonard, in summation, what would you say about the fact check and the job that the mainstream media has done pounding a certain narrative into society and what really happened?
Right. Well, there's this narrative that President Trump had failed to activate the National Guard, and thereby somehow by not activating them or calling them, he was complicit and actually planned an insurrection. Well, the truth is, we now know that Trump did attempt 5 times to deploy the National Guard. As a matter of fact, the Capitol Police Chief,
Thomas Sund.
Also, Sund. What is it, Sund? Is it Stephen Sund?
Or something like that?
Right. He tried activating. He requested the National Guard. However, he was denied multiple times.
And patriots. And Leonard, patriots who were there saw a few people trying to crack a window, and they said, hey, knock it off. This is our Capitol. What are you doing? Right.
So the Capitol Police police chief, who prior to this date tried to get more help because he received intelligence information that there would be infiltrators and they would cause problems, and there was probably going to start some stuff. So he's trying his best to get the National Guard and reinforcements in there, and he's constantly being denied. Why is that? Who gave the order to deny the request? And why did they deny?
That authority rested solely on the shoulders of Nancy Pelosi. None other, no person other than Nancy Pelosi had the authority to turn down the request from Thomas Sund and from President Trump. Nobody else.
Yes, and there's a book that came out just recently, and you can read about his summation of what transpired prior to and during, and the fact that he tried the intelligence that he received and the help that he tried to get. But he was fired after that.
Absolutely. And so in conclusion to our short presentation here and 2 years anniversary of the gathering in Washington, D.C., we just want to say that our thoughts and prayers are with all those who are jailed right now and have been jailed unfairly, many of whom haven't even been charged or they've been kept in solitary confinement. There are many who are fasting during these days right now for the J6 prisoners and for their fair treatment and for their fair release. And we hope that by sharing these thoughts with you and sharing the actual footage that we saw and our personal accounts, you will see that when we do this 2-year fact check, everything we shared with you the evening that we were there has proven to be true. It just took longer than we thought to come out. Is that correct, Leonard?
Absolutely. And then history, it'll be documented. But what I'm afraid of is that this narrative is out there and being perpetuated by the mainstream media constantly. So who knows what our children and grandchildren will learn. I'm afraid that the truth is not going to come out. I'm hoping it will, but hopefully with a new Congress in place that they'll look into this.
So we have a few really thoughtful comments on here that I would like to say. Sandra Johnson says, "I'm so sorry. Rest in peace to the Sergeant at Arms. I had not heard this." Deb Graybill says, "This whole thing seems like it was a setup." Carla Tarr says, "I so wish the guilty perpetrators of setting this up would someday be held accountable." Sandra Johnson says, "Why hasn't the footage been released? That is the proof." And we agree. It's a shame. And we have footage of all of these events, but more importantly, we thoughtfully, and I'm going to say prayerfully, and at great personal sacrifice, we paid our own ways. We froze and we were hungry, and we would not be deterred because we love this country and we wanted what was right, as did the majority of all the people there. We came there with good intentions. This country was founded for liberty and freedom, and because in God we trust. And we cannot lose hope that our voices and our prayers will be heard. And we cannot let the telling of the story by the mainstream media twist or subvert the real reasons we went there. We went there with good intentions, and we peacefully and patriotically gathered, held hands, sang the national anthem, brought our tiny flags from the one on my lapel to the 300-foot flag that Leonard and I helped carry down the street, and then several patriots hung on the wall while we broke out in the national anthem. So I'm just going to read a few more comments here. We have, oh, Deb, awesome. You're from Pennsylvania. That's great. We appreciate you guys chiming in. And we hope that some of the things that you're seeing here and some of the things we're sharing, you'll be able to share with others. Sandra Johnson says, Ashley Babbitt's mother was arrested for jaywalking today because she was holding a vigil. She holds a vigil every night for her daughter and for the fair and balanced view of what happened that day.
You know what? I'm with Sandra when she asked, why hasn't the footage been released? You know, there's hundreds and thousands of hours of the interior surveillance photo or video, the interior of the Capitol. Why hasn't that been released? You ask yourself, this January 6th, committee investigating the January 6th incident, why hasn't those videos been released? It could clear up a lot of things.
Well, and because Leonard, would you and I offer every frame of footage that we shot that day? Absolutely. We would offer all 14 hours as factual chronicling of what occurred that day. And it would shed a very different light on the events that day and the time frame that the mainstream media was putting out. So we ask anyone watching or anyone watching this link later to comment down below about what your thoughts are on this event and to join us in prayer and thought for those that are still imprisoned right now. And no matter how bleak things look, to be prayerful and ask that God will soften the hearts or inspire us or guide us to have more temerity to take cases to trial or whatever we need to do, because we need to speak up for freedom and we need to speak up for fair and honest elections. I'm just going to close my personal remarks by sharing with you that I currently moved from Los Angeles and live in Maricopa County, the hotbed, unbeknownst to me when I moved here, of election difficulties. 4 members of my family voted this year, and none of us show on the records that we voted. One of my sons went to 4 different polling places and had his ballot rejected multiple times and was sent to another location. And we now learned that that's because someone manually went in and overrode with an admin code on the machine and programmed it so the actual ballot form would be shrunk to 19 inches when it was on a 20-inch piece of paper. Therefore, when my son and thousands of other people tried to insert the ballot to be read, the little bubbles wouldn't line up correctly, and it was kicked out and had to be processed by hand later, which has caused many problems. Whatever the outcome of a legal and fair election is, I am completely willing to abide by it, as most Americans are. But can we assure one another that our legal votes are counting? And I think we have some real scrutiny to occur here to make sure that legal and fair ballots are being counted. And it is my hope that we will continue to do whatever we can to be volunteering, to be diligent, to volunteer as poll workers, and to be involved in the process so that we don't just say, I'm too busy, someone else will do it. Leonard, do you have any closing remarks?
Just keep the families of those involved in this January 6th incident who are still in custody in prayer.
Leonard, you and
I'm hoping
that could be us. That could be us. We never went in. We never did anything. Many of the people that are in there never did anything. Right. And I just saw an article yesterday that said they are going to try to prosecute 1,000 other people for new cases that they haven't even mentioned yet. And that could be us. Many of you may have noticed that both Leonard and I basically have, what's the term, Leonard, gone dark the last 2 years?
Right.
We basically have done no news shows. We've done no broadcasts. We've done absolutely nothing until this day. And we've basically been silenced by the powers that be, but we felt we owed it to the J6 prisoners and their families and many Americans who have been misled by the events that day. We felt like we owed it to you to come before you and share our footage, and 2 years later, give our testimony about what we saw and what we think is fair, and why we would like you to join us in prayer and volunteer and do anything you can to make sure that this wonderful United States of America survives intact with the First Amendment and the Constitution, and it's secure in God we trust. And Greg is our tech wizard here. Greg, do you have any closing thoughts that you would like to share?
Oh, no, I have plenty, but I don't think it's time for me to do that here.
Well, we thank you all. Any other comments that Leonard, you think we should share of anyone that has asked a question? Anybody has a question?
Somebody said, why are they still in there?
Somebody said, why are they still in there? So Matt Gaetz and Marjorie
Taylor Greene
have been really vocal about going there and trying to view them, but it's been very difficult. It's been an anomaly to our judicial system. It's been unlike anything I've ever seen before. They're basically just being cut off. And I read an article yesterday that said one of the J6 people has actually lost an eye because of being beaten in there. And forgive my crassness, but another article, a personal testimony, said that guards have peed in their food. There's pubic hair in their food. They are under constant abuse. They are in isolation. Some of them have not even been charged with anything yet. And it is going on 2 years. And this is not the America we know and love, is it, guys?
Well, we have the right to a speedy trial. So what happened with that? I mean, it's been 2 years now. And the charges, if you think of it, it's trespass at best. They walked into an unauthorized area, and it's trespass. Normally, that's a misdemeanor. Okay, punishable by
for Antifa, when they breached the Capitol 3 times, it was not even a trespassing charge.
Right. So normally trespass, it's just a fine, maybe $100, couple $100 maybe, and maybe up to 6 months in jail, not prison, in jail, and that's if you have priors. Most of the time, it's just probation. So for these individuals to be caught, to be put in solitary confinement, subjected to what I consider torture, is just so atrocious.
Unfair.
It's
So
so
I'm
unfair.
going to ask that anyone that's aware of a fundraising campaign for any of the incarcerated J6 prisoners, please put it in the comments down below so that any of our viewers and anyone who shares this link can contribute, not only with their prayers, but also with their money for legal fees if they feel inspired to do so. And we just want to thank all of you for not giving up and for being engaged, because how many times have we all heard someone say, I'm not into politics?
Tony Pete from England says, I'm praying for you.
Thank you
God
so
bless you.
much. When we did our shows, Leonard, from Washington, D.C., we had people tuning in from all over the world. And it is touching. People are not broken, and humanity is not cynical and horrible on the whole. People are beautiful and powerful, and that's what we need right now. We need united prayers. We need strong people. There's no whining in baseball. And we need to step up and say, this country is important to me. The Constitution is important. The First Amendment is important, and legal voting is important.
Right.
So I'm Valli Hart.
And I'm Leonard Bacani.
And Greg.
And Clag here.
And, okay, good.
Clag. You can all, you guys are all fam now. You can all call him Clag.
I prefer it.
We want to thank you for joining. Please leave us your comments, thoughts, or questions below, and we will personally answer all of them. Until next time, please tune into Seavine for the honest, unvarnished truth. And God bless America.